We are live right now. Super excited about today and all the things that are going on. I have a special guest who I'm fired up to introduce all of you guys to. And I'm trying to, I don't know if I went live on Instagram. If you're on Instagram right now, can you see that I went live? Nope. So I need to go ahead and do that. Going live on Instagram. Today, I've got a friend. Her name is Kelly. I'm going to introduce you guys to, and I am excited for you all to meet Kelly. Kelly, say hello to the people.
Hi, you guys. Thanks for having me.
Well, I'm excited. You are live on Instagram. You are so techie. I am not right now. Well, Kelly, why don't you go ahead and tell all the people kind of a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to. So I am a career coach and financial educator. But this is kind of not who I've always been. And so it's been a journey. So I'll take you back a little bit, tell you a little bit about my background and kind of where I came from, set the stage a little bit for what got me here today, talking here with Michael. So I live in Texas. I grew up just north of Houston, heavily involved in ag growing up. I went to A&M and knew that I wanted to be an ag teacher. I wanted to be a teacher. I loved agriculture. I loved FFA, all the things I was doing. And so there was really no question. I dove deep into that. And my background at Texas A&M and even in teaching was so heavy in one, agriculture, but two, in leadership, professional development, kind of working through a lot of those things with students. And so I don't know if you guys are familiar with FFA and what ag is in the high school world, but it's huge. It really is huge. So aside from being a teacher in the classroom, teaching kids about, flowers and welding and wildlife and livestock and all those kinds of things, there was also a huge part of our FFA chapter where we did leadership development. We did public speaking. We did, developing kids into leaders, into roles in leadership, within their community, within their organization. And a lot of the competitions that we did were some of them were group competitions, some of them were individual, where they were going into job interviews and trying to really sell themselves or sell a product. And so it was really just building up people, that was kind of that leadership side. And so I spent 15 years in the classroom.
Come on.
So 12 of those, I was an ag teacher in Texas, which is very different. I have to say that because ag in other states is very, very different. So in Texas, it is a 24 hours a day, 7 days a week job to be an ag teacher. So kudos to you if you're an ag teacher in another state, because the load is a little bit lighter. But so I did that here in Texas. And in 2019, we made the decision to move to Utah. So my husband had some of his family up there. It was a it was a tough decision for us. We were leaving everything that we knew behind, but we were at a point in my job and my career. My kids were little, very little. So first grade and pre-K 3 at the time. And my kids needed me. My husband needed me. He was really, really busy. And so we made the jump and moved to Utah. And so we were there with some family. And when we got there, I had to make the decision whether I was going to go back into teaching. I ended up doing that into an engineering role, which is a whole nother story. We can talk about that if you want. And so I taught engineering for a little bit, which totally sparked a 100% different side of me. So did engineering for a little while. And then we moved back to Texas this past summer. And we're in Bryan College Station now, home of Texas A&M. Whoop.
I'm not. Let's just stop for a second. I'm sorry. So I have a lot of friends, or I don't know what they are, but who are Aggies, a lot.
Yes. Yes.
And well, I just, I just couldn't. I didn't. I didn't go to Texas, but for some reason, the Lord has led me to love the Longhorns. Okay, I'm sorry to interrupt.
That's okay. You know,
Go
I,
Aggies.
I still love you. I still
Okay,
love you for who you
thank
are.
you, thank
That's
you. Go Aggies.
um, yeah, that's right. That's right. So we moved back here, and I had to make the hard decision, the really hard decision of whether I was going to stay in the classroom and continue a job that I didn't feel like I was being fulfilled in. I didn't love it anymore. It's not that I didn't love the kids, right? The kids is why that's the reason why we do it. That's the reason why educators stay in education.
Yeah.
But there were just a lot of things, that I had to really weigh out my options. It was a season of waiting when we moved here. It was in the summer, so luckily I had some time to figure that out. And it was a season of prayer. It was a season of trust and just kind of, figuring out what that was going to look like. And ultimately, I made the decision to leave the classroom for good, and to pursue kind of this entrepreneurship role. I opened a company that I will be officially launching here in the next couple of weeks.
Come on.
Pivot and Prosper. And it's essentially a place for people like me who feel like they're in a season of change. They're in a season of waiting. They don't love where they're at. They don't really know where they want to go. But and there's just so many factors, right, that lead into that. And we can get into the nitty-gritty of what that looks like. But ultimately, I want to be a resource. I have a lot of background in resume writing and job coaching and national job interview competitions and those sorts of things. So I have a lot of background there. And so I really just feel like that's where the Lord has placed me. He's also added a few tools to my toolbox, I like to say. So I'm now a licensed financial educator. So as I, work with these clients, a huge burden is finances. That's something that so many people struggle with.
Yeah.
And so as I work with my clients and work through kind of career transitions, job discovery, what does that look like? Where is the Lord directing you? What kind of skills do you have? What can you offer? And then figuring out how does that fall into your personal life, your family life, your family's financial future, and what your goals are. And so that's kind of, in a nutshell, who I am and a little bit of my background.
Man, I love it. And the way Kelly and I connected, we were on a social media deal with Jen Gottlieb. I don't know how to say her name, but that's somehow how we got connected. And then you came on to my Instagram. You were on my Instagram, very active on there. And I was like, all right, I gotta find out who this is. And we have connected and even shared clients, which has been really cool. She's been able to help someone I've been working with and trying to get a resume done and all those sorts of things. So that is incredible.
Yeah.
So Kelly, well, first of all, if you're watching this right now, I would love, if you have any questions, go ahead and put a questions in the comment, any question that you may have. I mean, we've got Kelly who can help you get a job in 4 days. I'm just kidding. And you've got me, who I am a Christian life coach, helping trauma survivors find hope. And if you have any question at all, please let us know. Kelly also is, I don't know if you have it sounds bad to you have a background in trauma, but I think I love what you know and the things that you do for yourself as far as your mental health. But before we get into that, why do you, when there's so many people that I think are stuck in their day-to-day job, their 9 to 5, and I'm not, and some people love it, and that's great. I mean, I did 9 to 5. Well, ministry is not really 9 to 5, but I did, I was a pastor in the church for 22 years, and I'm a pastor outside the church. And I liked it more than I didn't. And there's some people who are in a job right now that they just don't like.
Yeah.
Like Kelly, the other day, I went to Goodwill and I'm like, donate, all the things.
Yeah.
Doing a little spring cleaning, if you will. And I asked the sweet lady who brought the little buggy to me, and I asked her, I said, how you doing? And she's like, I'm okay. And I said, oh man, okay. And I'm trying to like be all bubbly and who I am. And here's my stuff. And I said, well, how long have you been working here? 6 months. Well, do you like it? I hate it. And I was like,
Oh,
ah. So that's a lot of people's stories though.
it is.
And Kelly, as far as you taking something, stepping out of that amazing career in ag and the life change that you have already, all of those teenagers, man, how hard was that for you?
Oh my gosh. I think if you talk to any educator, and especially the ones that are considering leaving the classroom, the questions that they have for other people that have done it, or other, people that have made career transitions, whether it's, across industries or just leaving education in general, is, do you regret it? And so, that's the biggest thing. And I think a lot of people think and question themselves on, if I make a decision to leave, if I make a decision to change, am I going to regret doing that? Am I going to regret it and not be able to go back? Well, here's the reality. Like, what's the worst that could happen, right? You don't love it and you end up back in a classroom, or you don't love it and you end up back in a corporate job. And so for me, sitting down and really looking at my priorities, at the time when I kind of made the decision that I wasn't going to go back into the ag classroom, that was really back in like 2018. And, my health was really bad, really, really. I was 50 pounds overweight. I couldn't make it to the gym. Not only was I unhappy with myself and who I had kind of become, I felt like I was angry all the time. And it wasn't that I hated the kids. It wasn't that I hated the curriculum. It wasn't that I hated school. It wasn't that I hated my family. It was just, it was a place in my life where I wasn't happy. I wasn't internally happy. And so there are, we've talked about this a little bit before, but there are very small things. And if you've ever listened to the 𝐷𝐼𝐒 podcast, he talks about inner bliss. And there are very small things inside of us, built inside of us into who we are in our makeup, that just light us up, that make us happy. Sometimes for people, that's music. Sometimes it's art. Sometimes it's gardening. Sometimes it's going for a run. I know that's kind of your happy place, right? Is going for a run. Not all of us. You won't catch me out on a run in the afternoon.
Yet.
All of us have those different things, right?
Right.
And so you really have to look at, what are those things that make you happy, that really light you up, that really want you, for me, the beach, the sunshine, bright colors, like those are things that make me happy. I tried to bring that into my classroom. So I actually throughout teaching ag, I transitioned and went from kind of doing welding and wildlife and some of those classes into floral design, which was wonderful for me.
Yeah.
I love flowers, love the bright colors. I enjoyed the creative, the artistic part, but it still wasn't 100% what I needed. And so having to really look at, okay, what's important for me, and that's kind of when I looked at it and said, I don't think it's the curriculum. I don't think it's helping these kids raise the animals in the livestock barn. I don't think that's what I love, and that's not what makes me happy. I do love the kids, and so it was really having to look at, I think, what really fills my cup. And when you look at, nobody can pour from an empty cup. We hear that all the time. And how many of us literally live day to day, where your cup is, you're just barely making it, right? You're treading water. A lot of people say that. I feel like I'm just treading water.
Right.
And so, to be in a place where you go to work and your cup is drained all day long, and you get home and it's, you may get a little bit, but maybe you come home to a stressful home life too. And so really there's no place within that that's really fulfilling you. And so that's where I had to say, what is fulfilling me? And for me, it was empowering people. It was empowering my students to come out of their shell, get out of their comfort zone, showing them what their skills and talents were, and seeing them evolve into beautiful human beings. Right. And I knew, that I love to do that, but I could do that outside of the classroom too. And so for a lot of people who are in a job where maybe they're, a computer coder, or maybe they're, an HR, maybe whatever it is that they do, what is it within that job that lights you up? It's probably not, sitting behind a computer screen in a chair in the same spot all day, every day, right? But maybe it's the ability to create something and share it with somebody who values what you've done. And so really it's looking at those things and figuring out, well, how does that translate into other industries?
It's good.
Yeah.
And I think, and I see some questions, Nolan, I'm going to get your question here in a second on YouTube. And if you have any questions for us, please go ahead and put those in the comments wherever you're watching. You know, you said that you did things in the classroom. I mean, it seems like you did so many things that, and maybe I missed it. Maybe I missed what you said. You did so many things that brought you so much joy and so much fulfillment in the classroom, but you are not in the classroom anymore. Like you are out of that, because I think, you know, you said your kids need you, your husband, you know, y'all just moved to Utah. There's a lot of things going on.
Mm-hmm.
And so my question is, Kelly, why don't you step back into that? If you loved it so much and it was
you know, I think I have found over the last 6 months to a year coming out of the classroom. It's not that I'm out of a classroom setting. Okay. Yeah. So I'm not in a high school anymore where I'm going through 7 periods a day, but I'm still in the classroom.
Come on.
The people that I work with, when I hop on a Zoom with somebody, whether it's talking about resumes or whether it's, you know, helping them build wealth for their family and talking about their financial future, I'm still in a classroom and I'm still helping people. I'm still teaching them, still educating them. I'm still working with them and empowering them. And so for me, that's kind of where I had to look and say, like, yes, I can go back into the classroom. And I'm sure it would be a blessing to so many, right? Not to toot my own horn, but I know I was a great teacher and I will always be a great teacher. And maybe someday there will be a time for me to do that. I think for me in the season that I'm in, this is where I'm at. And, you know, we talked about my kids a little bit. I have, you know, my kids are young. My daughter's 9 and my son is 11. And we've struggled a little bit with my son in school. He has autism and ADHD, and we have changed schools twice within the same school year. And that could change again by the end of the school year. And so there's just a lot of things externally in my family that make it really hard for me to step into a setting where I'm not available for my kids and my husband throughout the day. And there are so many people, within the special needs community, for one, that's a whole nother topic for another day, but who have family members that need them throughout the day, who have kids that need them, who have, you know, husbands that travel and there's nobody to take care of their kids, or maybe their wife travels and there's nobody, right? And so there's just a lot of factors that come into play there. And I just want to be a light for somebody and tell them that there are other jobs, there are other resources, there are work from home, remote opportunities, there are entrepreneurship opportunities, there are things out there that can meet your needs. You just have to be open and willing to those, you know, to talk about it and see that maybe that's where the Lord is guiding you. A lot of people think like, this is all I know and this is where I need to be. And for me, it was really leaning into, where does the Lord want to place me? And that was, I don't want to say unfortunately, because I feel like it's been a blessing and it will continue to be a blessing, but that's out of the high school classroom for me.
You know, Kelly, and I think that is a space that you and I are very similar in. And for me, I loved what I did for 22 years in the church. I mean, it was awesome. I absolutely loved it. And I felt like you said, you're a really good teacher. And I was like, I feel like I was am a really good pastor, but I was really good. I still am. Yeah. I loved working in the church. I mean, it was incredible. And then when God started stirring this in my heart, like, step out of the church. I mean, I didn't hear him like, step out of the church, but I was like, I need to do that. And man, it just was like, this doesn't make sense. I mean, even still, Kelly, people are like, I mean, I've had churches reach out to me and offer me jobs, which is awesome. And I'm so thankful for that. But it's like, why would I do that? Why would I say no? And why would I? It's because I know that like what I'm doing now is where I'm supposed to be. And like that time with my family right now. Mm-hmm. I mean, I was sitting yesterday morning reading, and my 3-year-old little girl, I took a picture of us. It was awful. I didn't post it, but I'm just like, man, I'm so thankful I get to spend this time with her because there's only a few more years left with all of them. I mean, just think about how many Christmas trees we have left with our kids if you celebrate Christmas. Not many. And again, not everybody can just step out and do what you and I have done.
Right.
But I want you to know, if you are thinking about taking a step out, and if you are thinking about, man, I know that I should be doing something else, I want to encourage you to first pray about it like crazy.
Yes.
And if you get that clarity from the Lord that says, let's go, then I want to encourage you to go. I mean, because anytime all over the Bible, when you see him say, let's go, his disciples are like, all right, here we go. And they followed him. And I just want to encourage you to take, and if you need help with that, I mean, Kelly is a great resource. If you need help in just that big decision, like financially, what are you going to do? Like with your insurance and all those things, like Kelly is a great resource. And I believe that's one reason, Kelly, you and I have connected, because it is a passion of mine to help people. I mean, my whole name of my business is Next Step. Yeah. And so and for me, when I'm meeting with a client and their next step is like, I need to get out of my career, I'm like, all right, go for it. That's all I really have. But now I've got a friend. And now I've got Kelly who can really help guide them along.
Yeah.
Kelly, what are some things that you do currently? You said, bright colors. When you're having a moment, well, actually, hold on, before I ask that question, I want to, Nolan Pelfrey, who's a friend, he asked this question. He said, what do you do when the things that usually bring joy aren't bringing you joy now? Nolan, great question.
That is a great question.
Kelly, would you like to
Absolutely.
answer it?
So, I think
Thank you, Nolan.
Number one is to really think it, like, it's very easy for us to say, I'm not who I used to be. Like, what's wrong with me? Why am I not happy anymore? And we tend to go down that kind of rabbit hole of, this is me. It's my problem. I'm the issue, that I'm not happy anymore. And these things are still here, but they're not bringing me joy. And the reality is we evolve as humans. We grow as humans. We grow in our faith. We grow in our journey with the Lord. We grow within our families and as individuals. And it's okay to, think about this. Like when I always talk about this with my kids. When they were little, the only thing they ever ate was macaroni and cheese and chicken nuggets, right? And it was like, at some point, they have to grow out of this. They have to grow out of this. And now, it's like they don't even want to eat chicken nuggets and macaroni and cheese. But that's what brought them joy, right? Those are the things they loved when they were little. And now that's not what brings them joy. That's not what they like anymore. And I know that's a terrible analogy, but that's the reality, is that we grow and we evolve. And when we stay stuck, this is a great point. When you realize that there are things in your life that used to bring you joy and they don't bring you joy anymore, that is the first sign and the first signal that the Lord is saying, pivot, turn, find whatever it is that's going to make you happy. And whether it's your job or whether it's, something totally different, maybe it's, that you, I don't know, loved fitness and now you're just not into it anymore. Well, why? Some of it could be medical, some of it could be, mental. So I would really encourage you to really tap into, where is the Lord pivoting you? What are the things that do bring you joy in this moment? If you could do anything, if you could walk away with no repercussions of not going to work today, or there were no financial burdens and you could do anything you wanted, what would that be? Great. And when you look at that and you figure, maybe for me, it would be going to the beach. Like, I'd be gone in a heartbeat. And it's not so much the beach that I love. It's the freedom. It's the sounds. It's the sunshine. It's the peaceful. And so I have to find ways to bring those aspects into my daily life, because I don't have access to live on a beach every day right now, right? I would love to. But I think for somebody who's kind of feeling that way, like, I'm starting to realize that these things don't bring me joy anymore, that's okay. That's 100% okay. And when you accept that and say, okay, well, let's figure out, if I could do anything right now, what would it be? That's going to be the thing that brings you joy. And you got to figure out those little inner bliss pieces of whatever that is that you can start bringing into your daily life. And sometimes it's not easy when there's no sunshine. It's hard for me. Yeah. The winter is hard seasons for me. It's hard for me to be productive. It's hard for me to be happy. my kids are like, Mom, I'm like, I know, it's just part of it. But I think that is a great, great time to really start looking inside and then start looking for resources. A lot of these things, get it. You are the average of the people you are around. And so if you're around, the 5 closest people to you, if those people are unhappy with their lives and there's nothing that brings them joy, you're going to be in the same boat.
It's good.
And so when you start seeing other people in happy places and you see that like, oh, this person loves fitness and, this person is really great and loves this, you start to see, okay, well, maybe I can find something. And it just changes your mindset a little bit. So I would say, don't look at that as a bad thing. 100%. That is that is an opportunity for change and an opportunity for pivoting. And I love that.
Yeah. And I love that. I agree. It's really good, Kelly. And just to, support that answer for Nolan, what I called it, for me, when I was kind of feeling like, man, I really loved doing, this. I loved, leading volunteers. I loved preaching. I loved helping people. I loved doing these things. And what I called, what started to happen was my nest that I'd been living in for a really long time, as far as like doing full-time ministry, it started to get kind of some thorns in it. And it started to get really uncomfortable. But what I was doing, Kelly, is I was continuing to still sit in the nest, even though it was really bothering me. Like it was uncomfortable. And like I knew there's some things happening, but I just tried to power through. Yep. Like, okay, no, it's all good. And then I would talk to people like, well, the Lord is, he doesn't want you to leave and do, and I'm like, I don't know. And I was just, and then it was like more of these thorns just started to come up. It's like, and then they got bigger.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay. And so when we have those thorns in our nest, man, I just want to encourage anybody that the longer that you sit on that thorn, it's going to hurt you. It's going to be infected. It's going to cause sickness. It's going to affect everything around you. And so my encouragement also is, when you're feeling that thorn and you're feeling the unrest and you're feeling like, this, whatever situation, it could be a relationship, it could be a job, it could be all sorts of different things that you feel they're not bringing you joy anymore. Here's what you got to do. First thing you need to do is just stop. I think sometimes we don't find the joy in things, if you will, and we start to not like the things that we love because we've become so busy doing the things that don't matter around that thing.
Yes.
I know for me, I forgot at times the reason I got into ministry was for the people.
100%.
But I got too busy and I started having these thoughts and these things. And then I had to stop and pause and be like, no. I got into this for people.
That's right.
And so my first thing would be, let's like stop and rest, like pause, stop, look around. What is God doing? And if he's continuing to show you these thorns and these things in your life, I love the name of your new business, Kelly.
Yeah.
Pivot and Prosper. Is that right?
Absolutely. Pivot and prosper.
Pivot and prosper. And so when it comes to pivoting, that is hard to do. That is so hard to do, especially when it comes to relationships. Woo. Mm-hmm. Some people are in relationships right now, even marriages, and they're like, I got to pivot. And they're like, well, it's not that easy.
Yeah.
And it's going to take some work for you to pivot in every area of your life. And so the biggest thing I would like to say is this, is when you start feeling that thorn, just stop for a second and rest. Psalm 46:10, be still and know that I am God. Like sit in that for a minute, silence all your crap, stop listening to all the things, sit in it. And then remember Psalm 23:1-3, the Lord is my shepherd. I lack nothing. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He makes me.
Yes.
And so maybe he's making somebody stop for a second and lay down because he has something so great. Because then it says, he leads me besides quiet waters. He refreshes my soul. And then he guides me along the right path for his name's sake. And so that's so beautiful.
It is.
It is so great. So Nolan, I hope that helps you out, buddy. And You the man, brother. Kelly, I think that you have written something. I know you don't want to self-promote, but I'll promote yourself for you. So I'm going to 2 questions. I want you to talk about what you have written and how people can get it.
Okay.
I can put it in the description. The
Okay.
second thing, I want you to answer that first. Answer that one.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have actually written a book.
Come on.
I'm officially an author. So, I don't know. If you'd asked me a million years ago if that was something that I was going to do, I would have said absolutely not. But, I used to write a little bit of background when I worked with my kids in job interview prep and leadership skills and that kind of thing. I wrote resumes on the side. As teachers, we have to make extra income, right? It's just most of them do, or they work in the summer. And so I wrote resumes on Fiverr for years, and I helped friends and family. And so that was just something that I loved to do. I felt like I had an art for it, kind of an art for putting those words to paper, really showcasing somebody's talents. And so anyways, I wrote a book on how to build your dream resume. And it's really all the things that I learned over time, the things, when people sit down to write resumes, they're like, I don't even know where to start. Like, do I put my schooling on there? What do I say about my job? How do I word this? What format do I, there's just so many questions.
Yes.
And so I wrote a book for my clients to be able to feel empowered to do it themselves, because I found that writing the resumes was great. People were landing jobs and they were getting into these roles, but they were going into interviews not really prepared or able to really explain or showcase their talents in a verbal form, because they weren't the ones that wrote their resume, right? So they didn't really understand the verbiage or the empowerment behind the words that were on paper. And so that's why I wrote the book, was really for people to understand the nitty gritty, the ins and outs of actually writing a resume, what templates to use. If you're a midlife, you're changing industries, you're going from tech sales into, coding or something like that, right? How do I showcase my talents in something that's completely different? Or you're, leaving education, going into corporate world or something like that. So there's a lot of things like that in there. And then, the applicant tracking system, the ATS system, is something that has kind of taken the job space by storm. And a lot of people still have not caught up to that technology. It's similar to AI, right?
Yeah.
And it's daunting for a lot of people. They have no idea what that is. And so
this was mind blowing for me when you and I were on the call with one of my clients and you started talking about this.
Yeah.
You guys.
Yeah. So it's one of those things people just don't know. And you'll hear, and maybe some of you have been in
don't tell them too much, Kelly. I want them to reach out to you and learn more. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, I just want to give you a little
give them the value. Give them the value.
When you are applying for jobs and you're not getting calls back, I hear all the time. I see it on, on Facebook and groups all the time. I've applied to over 100 jobs and nobody's called me back. Well, the reason they haven't called you back is because they haven't actually seen your resume, because your resume was filtered out of a software system before it ever got to humanize. And so that's a lot of the stuff I talk about in the book, is making sure that what you're doing and what you're putting on paper is, number one, showcasing you, that it's the right format for you, it's the right verbiage and the right text, but that it's good enough to get through, that firewall to actually get to a recruiter's hands.
That blew my mind when you were talking to my client about that. I was like, so, well, it doesn't matter, but there are jobs that I've applied for in the past, and I'm like, bro, that resume that I had was fire.
Yeah,
but it just doesn't matter. You guys, that is so good. If that is something that you're like, okay, then Kelly can help you out with that.
Absolutely.
Big time. All right, I have one more question. 365 days from today. Okay, it's going to be March 28th, 2025. All right. I call you, you pick up the phone, and you say blank. Here's what I'm asking. This is what I ask all of my clients when I start with them. I want to know where you're going to be 365 days from now. What does that look like? So I call you. Go ahead.
Okay.
Hey, Kelly, how are you?
I'm fabulous.
Awesome.
I'm fabulous. Michael, how are you?
Oh, I called you, so go right ahead.
I'm wonderful. I feel like, by following where the Lord has led me, a lot of those have been roadblocks, especially recently. But I was faithful to where, I feel like I was being called. And, I've met so many wonderful people like you who have supported that journey, who have been partners in that journey. And I feel like I have reached so many people and I have helped so many people. And there are so many more people left. And I'm just so grateful for that. And I hope that, at that point I can say that, my business and
No,
your
no, no,
business.
no. You can't say I hope. You're there
No,
right now.
they're
You're
prospering.
there. It's
They're
March.
prospering. And I know that the Lord brought us together for a reason. We met on a challenge through the internet with, I'm talking hundreds of thousands of people when we met. And how in the world we connected, will only be, that was God's plan. It was God's plan. And I am so thankful that our platforms have come together so that we have, been able to work together and your clients can be blessed, as well as mine.
That is good. And if you guys just heard that, what you heard in Kelly as she looked forward for a year from now is that she believes and she knows where she's going. She only said, I hope one time. She only said, I hope one time. And so I want to encourage you guys when right now where you're at, you're not going to be there very long. Matter of fact, it just ended. Like it's just going.
Mm-hmm.
But what I want to encourage you guys is this: where are you going to be 365 days from now? Like truly, where do you want to be? Maybe that's too far for you. Okay, where are you going to be 6 months from now? Like, and then go for it and believe it. When we take out the word, man, I really, so some people I'll ask that question, like, well, I hope that I'm going to be, or even some who are really in some deep depression and anxiety. They're like, man, there's no way that I can ever get out of this.
Right.
There's no way that I can ever move on. And that makes sense. And you're going to move on. There is light at the end of your tunnel. But then when you can start thinking, I'm looking forward, I'm going to get there, you actually start making the steps to be able to pivot and prosper, if you will. That was like both of our businesses in one. You're going to take the next steps to pivot and prosper. .com. So I want to encourage you to and ask other people that question.
Absolutely.
Ask other people like, so in 365 days, I call you, let's have a conversation and help them to be able to do that. And that's something that I love that I get to do in my coaching practice is I get to ask that question in the very beginning. And then I feel like God puts things in their path and in my path to be able to help them to get there. And so I've worked with 9 clients so far since January 1st, total blessing. Yes. And to be able to see where they are already from just a few months ago, they're 60 and 90-day clients. I mean, it is incredible, both spiritually, mentally, they're out of the fog. It's just awesome. And Kelly, what you get to do is help people come out of the fog and to see the light in a really cool way with their finances and in their career.
Yeah.
So,
and one thing too, I'll chime in here. I think for me, it was really the pivoting out of the classroom, especially out of the ag classroom. That was all I'd ever known since high school. I thought that's where I had all these skills. I was so good at all of these things. That's where I needed to be. That's where I was, that's what I was prepared to do forever. And it was very hard for me to say, this isn't serving me anymore. This is not a place for me. It's not a healthy place for me. I don't love it anymore. But then I felt like I was, okay, well, what do I love? Because that's everything I've ever done, right? And so for me, it was a mindset thing when I decided to jump into entrepreneurship. And maybe there are some people that are looking to do that, right? They want to be their own boss. They want to make their own rules. I had to ask myself, what's the worst that could happen? What's the worst that could happen? And what I wrote down on paper, I went through this whole coaching session. And what I wrote down on paper was the worst that could happen is that I'm in the same place a year from now that I am right now. I haven't grown, I haven't evolved, I haven't found something else that, you know, makes me happy, that I'm able to do. And so when you're in that place, whether it's career, whether it's a relationship, whether it's just life, you know, and the messes of all the things, what's the worst that could happen? You know, you make a change to grow and evolve in whatever that looks like, or those thorns get bigger and you're in the same nest with bigger thorns, right? And so that was the biggest piece of that puzzle for me, was to when I realized that, like, it can only go up from here.
Right.
I'm only going to evolve and get better. I'm only going to get more skills, and I'm only going to learn. And so that was, I think, huge in my journey. And I hope that that helps other people to see that, like, you don't want to be, you know, if you're in a place where you're not happy, you don't want to be in that same place a year from now, 6 months from now, 6 weeks from now. So they're baby steps, right? And it may just be one step at a time. You don't even know what the rest of the staircase looks like. You don't know if you're going up or down, or you're turning, or you have no idea. But it's just the next step. What can you do? Who can you talk to? You know, what relationship can you build? You know, and I've spent a lot of time working on, you know, networking, especially since moving back to Texas and into a new community as an adult. I was here in college, but not as an adult. And that's a lot of what I've learned, is that there are so many people, even when you feel like everybody that may be really close to you, your family, your close coworkers, nobody's supporting you. Nobody, you know, you feel like they're just kind of like holding you down, and you're like, I just need somebody to believe in me and bring me up and say, like, yeah, go for it, do it. And they're just going to trust, you know, somebody that I can really trust. A lot of those people are not your closest people. Those are people you don't even know, you know, and your biggest cheerleaders you've never even met before. And so that's so powerful to know that there are hundreds of thousands of people out there that are ready to cheer you on. You just have to be open and willing to build a bridge and build a relationship with those people.
That is awesome. And I think we've got one more question from somebody on YouTube, and then we'll jump off. But I think you asked the question. So what do you have to lose? Right. So is that what you said? What do you have to lose?
What's the worst that can happen?
Yeah, that's it. What's the worst that can happen? Here's what I think the worst that could happen. The worst that could happen for me would to be able to look back a year from now and I've not taken that step.
Absolutely.
Like I never want to look back and say, what if? I just don't.
Mm-hmm.
If God's in it. Now, if Michael's in it, that's usually not a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
I've tried that and it's not been good. But if God is in it and he is saying, come on, I never want to look back and say, man, I really wish I would have done that. And that comes to evangelism. So if I know I'm supposed to tell somebody about Christ and I don't, oh gosh, like that is the worst. Like that, I've done that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But man, when God asks us to do something, let's go for it. You have nothing to lose.
Well, it means that he's going to provide all of the resources, right? He doesn't call the qualified, right? He qualifies the called. And that's huge to know that when you've been called and you feel that pivot, you see that roadblock, you feel the thorns, whatever that looks like for you, you have to know that you're being called in another direction. This is a lesson, right? That burden that's being put on you is put there for a reason. And it's a roadblock for a reason. It's protecting you from something and it's turning you to something better. And we don't know what that is. Only he knows what that is, but he's going to light the way. And it may not be the whole staircase. It's one step at a time, like I said. But it's important to recognize when you're in that place. And it's not, I don't mean like tomorrow I'm going to have an answer of like, this is where I'm going to go. Sometimes it's a season of understanding and sitting in it. Why am I uncomfortable? What is he trying to teach me? Where is this going? What am I going to do? What do I need to change? And it's a season. It's a season of making relationships, going to therapy, you know, building up yourself, understanding, you know, journaling. I mean, there's a lot of things, building your relationship with Christ. There's a lot of things that happen in that season. It's not overnight, but it's important to recognize when that season is there and to sit in it and marinate in it and to find resources to help you and support you in that season.
So good.
Yeah.
We got one more question, then we'll jump off. This is Isaac Sparks coming from YouTube. And if you have not subscribed to my YouTube channel, I'd love for you to do that. Subscribe and get all the notifications whenever I go live and post videos. That'd be great. But Isaac says this. He says, what if you look ahead and you really don't see anything ahead? What are some evaluations you can do to begin to put together a yearly goal? I would say this, Isaac. I would say that's okay. I think, and I know, Isaac, I would say this. Maybe you're in a spot right now that is great. Like you're in a great spot, and be where you are and love the season. Like Kelly just said, love the season that you're in.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if that answers your question for that part, Isaac, but that's awesome. That is a great thing. I would also say, don't look for change and don't look for the things if it's not there. Sometimes we can stir things up that there's no need to stir it up. And let's be where we are. And then the next part of your question, what are some evaluations you can do to begin to put together a yearly goal? So I hear yearly goal, I think something. Kelly hears yearly goal, she thinks something. Isaac, you write yearly goal, you think something else. So what I would encourage you to do is literally, if I was on a coaching call with you right now, I would ask you this question. I would say, who are your 3 closest friends? Who are the people that are going to tell you exactly what you don't want to hear? Like who are those people?
Yeah.
Who are the people when you tell them no, you can't do something, they're still there for you? So I would say, who are those people? And then I would say, man, if they live around you, go to lunch, go to dinner, grab some coffee, whatever that is, and ask them some hard questions about yourself. Hey, where do you see that I need to grow? Where do you see that I'm excelling? Where do you see, and ask those questions, Isaac, and I can write some questions for you that are really gonna help you to start look at yourself, because sometimes we get comfortable in where we're at and we don't see some of the things that we may be weak in or that we may be really excelling in, and we just kind of stay comfortable. And so we never really have any goals because we're good where we are. We're just comfortable. And we never grow being comfortable. We only grow whenever we push ourselves and when we do hard things. That's how we grow. And when we fail, that's how we grow. And so in that space, Isaac, I would say, man, really, where are you? Like what does that look like for you? So getting that external feedback is massive. And then I would say dream, my man. Like dream. Like write down some crazy dreams. Like, what is it? Maybe I don't know. I know you, so I'm not going to say all the different things. I could help you dream. I could help you come up with some things. And then I would say, and then whatever that is for a year from now. So you write that down literally with a pencil or pen and paper. You write it, you literally write it down. You put it where you can see it. And then you do small steps to be able to get there, whatever that may be. And so I don't know if that helps you or hurts you, Isaac. I may have just completely messed your whole life up right
I think you're hitting the nail right on the head. And I don't know the context of the question. Like you said, it can be interpreted many different ways. But I think, I can say one of the things that I have found as I joined the financial education space and I talk with people about money, I teach them how money works. I teach them all the things that nobody's ever been taught in schools that should be taught in schools, but it's not. And when we sit down with people and we really start evaluating not just where they are, but where they want to be financially, that's something that we do with all of our clients as we go through. We teach them what's called a FIN number, which is their financial independence number. And then we look at their actual number, like where they actually are. And what we realize is that when we sit down and we say, let's dream for a minute, let's dream. Where do you want to be? What do you want retirement to look like? If you could do anything, if you could travel anywhere, if you could have any business or own anything, what would those things be? It's really hard for people to some people can, right? They know right off the bat, I want to ranch in the hill country. I want a beach house. I want to travel to Europe, whatever that looks like. But for so many people, it's quiet initially. And it's really hard. And I think our society has kind of forced us to stop dreaming. That American dream that, we think about that as a kid, like everybody thought about the American dream. That is so hard for people to really wrap their mind around now. And so I love that when I get to sit down with people, we get to dig deep into what those goals and dreams are. And some of them are years and years down the road, right? Sometimes it's 30, 40 years out that we're really dreaming. But what happens when you do that is you're able to build, right? You go back and you build those steps and that bridge and say, okay, well, what can I do now that will start, to build the bridge to get me to where I want to be? And while we are talking about finances, at the time, it's really a bigger picture than that. It's really more about the, having the ability to dream again, having the ability to look for something bigger than what you're doing right now and where you're at right now. And then being able to see, like, you can get there. There is a plan. You just have to, when you know the end result, where you want to be, the path is a little bit easier. It's hard to step into the path when you don't know where the end destination is. And not to say that you always have to know, but it's one of those things that, and I would encourage Isaac, to reach out to Michael or reach out to I, because when you sit down with somebody and you have the ability to really dream and ask those hard questions, sometimes we just get in our own head and we just can't get out of that box. So sometimes it just takes getting with somebody who can stretch you, who can get you out of that box, and to see outside of, your day-to-day life, to see like, oh yeah, I did want to do that. Oh yeah, I do love doing that. And sometimes it's just having those conversations.
That is great, man. Isaac, that was good. I hope that you got all that, my man. Also, there may be somebody watching. I said there was the last question, but there may be some people that are on here, Kelly, and they're like, man, gosh. Oh wait, Isaac just said you're good to give examples. I don't mind. Oh, I got you. No, I'm not doing that. I'm not. Isaac, stop pressuring me. You're a bully on here. I'm just kidding. But there's some people who are like, man, I'm 30 years old and I'm not doing or I'm 40 or I'm 50 and I'm not doing, all the things that I really want to be doing. This reminder, Jesus was 30 when he started. Joseph was 30 when he started. David was 30 when he started. And when I say that, and you can keep going, Moses and all these people, like sometimes we look at our age and we look where we're at and we think, oh, well, I'm too old. Like I'm too old now and I'm not going to be able to hit my goals and hit what I wanted to do. Well, I want you to know this, that where you are is exactly where God wants you to be, as long as you are listening to what he is saying.
Absolutely.
And I think sometimes we start looking for a blessing, Kelly. We start looking for it, but we're really living in it.
Yeah.
And so I know that people are hearing us talk about career change and taking a step and getting out and doing all the stuff. Well, maybe possibly even for you, Isaac, maybe possibly right now, you're where you're supposed to be. And you're living in the blessing right now that you need to be in, brother. And I would say that you are. Again, I don't know for sure, but I would say that you are. So Kelly, man, that was good. That was super fun.
Yeah.
That was awesome. We were supposed to go 20 minutes and, Isaac just wrote in, I'm 29, baby. Let's go. See,
yeah.
See, bro.
That's right. It's never too late. You are in the season, Isaac.
See, you're going to be like Christ. You are probably one of the most Christ-like people I know. And so when you turn 30, I hope you don't die when you're 33, but I know that when you turn, who knows, when you turn 30, what God has for you, man. That is awesome.
I love that.
Oh man. Well, we were supposed to go 25 minutes and we went 53:47. So that is all good. Kelly, I am honored to know you. I'm thankful that you took the time out of your busy week that you have had. And man, I'm very thankful, and we will for sure do this again. Also, if you want to find Kelly, like in her book, I'm going to put all those links in the description of YouTube. So if you can go to YouTube, you will find that there. If you or somebody that is needing some direction and needing maybe, man, I don't know the steps that I need to take in my life. Man, I would love to help you and guide you in whatever those steps may be. And again, if that's career, then I'm gonna pass you along to Kelly. If that's, man, I feel stuck in trauma, I feel stuck in depression, I feel stuck in anxiety, I just feel stuck, man, reach out to me. I'd love to talk to you. Man, it'd be awesome to help you take whatever next step that is. So, Kelly.
Yes. Thank you for having me. This is so powerful. You're doing amazing work and God's work at that. And there's just nothing more powerful than to bring it out to the masses and to know that it's okay. It's okay.
I appreciate that, Kelly. All right. Well, guys, thank you so much. And we'll see you next time.
Thanks for having me.